This is, good evening, everybody. This is a regular meeting of the Fairhaven Historic Commission. Adequate notice of this meeting has been given pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. At this time of the board reorganization in January of this year, the board adopted its regular meeting schedule for the year. Notice of the schedule was sent to and is published in the Asbury Park Press, was published on January 26, 2024, and notice to the Two River Times on February 7th, 2024. As well as supplemented by published notice on July 11th, 2024 to advise of the hybrid format. That notice was also posted on the bulletin board in Borough Hall and has remained continuously posted there as required by the statute. A copy of the notice has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the Borough Clerk. A copy of the notice has also been sent to such members of the public as have requested such information in accordance with the statute. Adequate notice having been given, the board secretary is directed to include this statement in the minutes of the meetings. Can we get a roll call?
Mr. Powell,
Here.
Mrs. Drummond,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Here.
Mrs. Mullen, here. Mr. Linder,
Here.
Mrs. Crisora, here.
Oh,
you
Thank you so much.
Mr. Smith.
Here. Okay, I think what we're going to do is we'll dispense with old business right now, since obviously we have an applicant that's here on an informal, and I see how professionals here, so we'll get you guys in and out of here as soon as possible. That application obviously is the one made by Brett and Annette Fodero, 66 to Normandy Avenue, Block 48, Lot 7. The work proposed is demolition of an existing structure and construction of a new 3,000 square foot home. So we'll have you come on up and we'll hear from you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Annette. This is Brett. So just for some context, so the house was built in 1948. So it's, not really historic by any means. We bought the house in 2020. When we were looking at Fairhaven Brecker up on Lewis Lane, we had very specific areas that we really wanted to live in. And my in-laws always used to take a walk down Fairhaven Road with their coffee and their dog, and they just fell in love with the neighborhood. So we knew our goal was really to buy an old historic home, but we bought this home and we love it. So we wanted to try to figure out how to make sure it fit obviously the aesthetic of the neighborhood. We did a bunch of research. We read through the Monmouth County Register of Historic Homes to understand like the architectural details that were prevalent in the time period when these houses were built. I put together, there was a little deck, just basically the homes that we drew inspiration from. One of my favorite houses, 36 Fairhaven Road, Throckmorton House. That's where a lot of our inspiration came from. And then there are other houses just around some of the little Silver, Shrewsbury, where we've always seen them and said they're interesting. So we pulled those from the registrar too. So just to get a better understanding of the architectural details of those homes and the time period that they were built in. So for this house, we met with Tony and we kind of went over what our goals were. Currently our house is a small cape. The other houses next to our house are taller. So I feel like we're kind of a little short house with these taller houses. So we wanted to make sure when we were building this house, the scale of the house was kind of in line with the other homes in our little short block. So we kind of put some thought into that as well. I don't know. What else do we...
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other things that we were thinking through outside of what I mentioned were, like, if we kind of, look at the house next to a handful of the others, right? We have a kind of shared driveway that kind of bumps up to the park right across some Hillary's, and that turns into kind of a road a lot of the days. So, we have 3 little kids and another one coming. So, when we were looking at it and looking at the lot, I think part of what we always like when you kind of go down Fairhaven Road and everyone has a white picket fence and those are the blocks and the streets. Thought it would be fit in and also be safer if we kind of shifted the house to the left and then kind of enclosed the whole thing with like the white picket fence and then our house would match the house next to us, which is house on the left, driveway on the right. So I think those were at least some of the other things that we kind of thought about when we were thinking about ultimately what we were, hoping to, accomplish with the,
What do you have, what, property do you have, how many feet?
Oh, yeah, so we got a survey, actually, brought the survey with us, we got a new survey done. So we are, our zoning is an R5, so we're actually 50, but by 215, so our lot is actually really long in the back. So we know we have to go in front of zoning, we know this is bigger than what we're zoned for, we know we have a whole thing ahead of us. But we thought scale wise and based on the like formula that this house, the house two down from us is about the same size, it is a little bit taller than this house.
So you'll
The
be
yellow
going
house.
back.
The yellow house.
Yeah, you'll be going back then.
We'll be going, yes,
Yeah.
we're not any wider, we're just gonna go back.
Yeah, because I have a 50-foot frontage too, and I have
Yeah.
a 15-foot driveway, and there's not much left to go.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
have
no,
to
we're
go
not, we're
back.
gonna go,
Yeah,
yes.
So one thing actually I did fail to mention is probably in talking about it, looking at it again, Hillary, you probably do have you probably conflicted out as a result of being, living across the street, but I think, obviously Hillary's voice is, well taken in terms of her input for the commission, so for the purposes of this, which is an informal, and obviously, I think that you don't have to recuse yourself, but probably could vote if you ultimately do, just to, that's what we generally imposed on ourselves in the past. Let me just ask you about the driveway. You did mention it. I was kind of listening halfway though. The property line on your north side, is the driveway on your property or is it partially, or is it like, what is the, what's the division line? I'm not actually seeing it. I didn't really look at the,
So the driveway, it's for the two houses and it's basically combined into one driveway. So if you look at it from where it starts on our property line, then butts up to where the park is, it's 24 feet, something like that, 22, 25 feet.
so your property is 24 feet over? Or no? So I'd like to
Their property line goes right down the middle of the drive.
down the middle.
One half of it is theirs and one half is
The borough.
the name, no, the name, well, whoever's in the back there.
So that's what I was kind of curious, has nothing really to do to the have to do with the application, but do they have an easement or a right of way, or do they have their
Yeah.
property line kind
Yeah.
of stretches out on
They
the
have
driveway? It is, okay, interesting, okay, and so you said you're gonna shift the house to the left, I imagine that's north?
Yes, closer to the road.
That's the survey. that I just-
are you gonna push the house back at all?
We're gonna match it to the Wellings house right next
Oh,
door.
nice,
So
okay,
the house lines will be the same and then the porch lines will be the same.
okay, nice.
Yeah, so the first reaction is that, it looks very, very nice. It's obviously a huge upgrade. But in your house, as you mentioned, it always worked because it's a cape and it's, kind of timeless a little bit, obviously not a historic contributing house. But what you do, obviously, when you start doing a simulated historic house, you then bring with it probably some responsibilities and, accuracy with regard to the construction and things of that nature. So I'm sure you know that because you don't want to have sort of a house that's halfway seeming historic and just corners cut, but I'm looking at it and some detail is missing. But there, it looks like you guys have paid a lot of attention to a lot of the details in terms of just the structure itself and the facade and so forth.
Yeah, and that's why we're here for your feedback, like, that's why we want the feedback before we.
Yeah, so you emailed both myself and Jay, probably about a month ago. And because I knew it involved a demolition and obviously the construction of a new house in a prominent part of the historic district, I figured this is the best way to go, the informal route, just because there's obviously going to be a lot of give and take. And, I'd hate to have you come on application, especially when time starts getting tight. And then there's just some detail that's missing and we can't vote on it or, it just doesn't work out. So I think the things though that we would need to see, at least I could tell, is the type of roof material that you're looking to do, the type of siding that you're looking to do. Whether or not the window configuration is actually as depicted in the illustrations, the material being used for the windows, the front porch material, and whether or not, because it looks like maybe it's simulated brick to chimney, but I did see an illustration. I thought this kind of looked like it was siding or something. So,
No, that'll be probably a thin brick, well, either a thin brick or a real brick.
okay.
Am I right that this Sycamore Avenue Shrewsbury house was a pretty big inspiration? Looks very
Yeah.
similar, yeah.
Yeah,
But
You like the Italian,
I do,
yeah, influence, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
What would be the porch be done in the top of the porch?
We were gonna do, so for the porch, we're gonna do a wood, I think we were saying like mahogany or something, not like a Trex, like a real wood porch, and we want like a really like heavy wooden door. And then for the siding, which will, I don't know for modification, but we were, and you can say no to this, we were hoping for hardy board plank in Arctic white. And if that is not the right shade, I just saw it on like the Heritage Collection on their site. And for the roof, we're having a marital dispute. But I think.
Slate versus cedar.
I think we are, well, actually, I read it's like, it's 90% we're on cedar. But we,
If you're gonna do it, I guess you have to do it right, so cedar is.
and Hillary just made her house look so beautiful with all that cedar, so I.
Yeah, and actually you do have, I know it's not contained in your submission, but, an Italianate style house directly, well, next to Hurley's house. The front sort of juts out a little bit,
Yeah.
but it is sort of a similar, it kind of speaks to that house a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, like the porch on that one is very similar here, like where it comes in on the side and has the peak on top.
Right.
I have a couple of just quick questions and thoughts. One, Joe and I were talking before we actually started. I think it's just a small thing and but it's something that we've usually discussed during a lot of the applications, and that's on the rate returns on the bottom. I think we generally try to avoid the pork chops on the rake returns.
You mean, just keep it flat, is that what you mean?
Well, there's a couple different ways. I mean, either hipping the rate return. Yeah, well, you're pointing at the right place.
Yeah, they are hit, unless I'm. not-
Okay, up here, they look like they were chopped.
Looks like they're flat.
Oh, that's,
spot there was,
Oh, here, tell me.
That's the only
Tell me,
spot.
tell me,
Yes.
right here.
that's the only spot, all their other ones are hit, so yeah, I would hit that.
Well, hip, or like you said, do a wash,
Making-
or do a, like a copper wash.
Yeah, exactly,
I think
with the
that,
low
I
pitch.
think that little bit would give you a lot.
I'm
And
also considering maybe lifting this. But that's.
on the same, tact, you were saying about the thin brick on the chimneys. Great. The termination of them, is the dead giveaway, which shows up here.
Yeah, when
There's probably some ways that you could either with a, a
Corbel with the,
copper shred.
Oh, the top, yeah.
they do a corbel with thin brick, like they did on
Well, we
River Road.
yeah, either where you do the towers out of thin brick on the corners and do something, or even, what do you call it, like a copper shroud.
Yeah,
That where you kind of hide the pipes and all that, because it just, yeah, I mean, it's just not a big thing, but it certainly makes it look like a real chimney, as opposed to
yeah,
a
instead of seeing a limit,
diffuser.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're gonna talk more about the materials next time, but I heard Artie, and we're good. Of course, we like the smooth side out rather than the fake wood grain, because that's,
okay,
yeah, and I'm sure Tony's right there too with that. It would be on the, front porch, because you were mentioning having a covered wood, porch. And obviously, the original ones had, intermittent piers with like a lattice work underneath. Or, when they fell apart over time, then they may have replaced them with bluestone or something like that. But, that might be something to consider, in terms of, the wood porches really, went from pier to pier, had a pitch.
They need to have that,
okay.
the openness so that they don't rot out.
So you're suggesting about
You
the
need the
brick, the
ventilation.
brick base underneath the front porch? Is that
Well,
what you're-
brick piers, and then with the lattice, you'd have ventilation, otherwise, the moisture is gonna collect under the wood flooring and rot it out.
Well, there's two ways of doing the wood too. It's either where it's tongue and groove and there's a pitch on it, which is the traditional way of doing it. And then Tony's, he's all over it. Or you do the space decking with gaps in it where the water comes through. But as Joe was saying, that might be creating an environment in there that might come back to talk to you later on. So, I mean, as a board, and we're not mandating or anything, but there's probably more historically correct one would be to do the tongue and groove. You know, and you pitch it from front to back and then you pitch it, you know, it would have a subtle hip in it to the sides and then the piers there and, you know, kind of a lattice infill. And that's just a couple of small details. I agree with Art. I think that the big moves here all seem like they're really, you've looked around carefully and incorporated the scale and kind of, you know, massing and fenestration.
The,
Okay, I'm gonna throw in one more detail. I'm sorry,
Great.
sorry.
I-
And this is just,
Writing
He's writing down like.
I'll Google it at the side.
and this is all appreciated prior to, and because you've kind of shown it this way with the shutters. If you're gonna do shutters, you know, do it with the working hardware, the shutter dogs,
Yeah.
you know, and stuff, rather than having them drilled into it, which really, you know, kind of cheapens the whole
No, yeah.
whole thing.
here's the other thing that will make this,
Hardware at the top.
this will make this historically accurate would be a flat, minimal patch pitched roof over the front porch, a flat roof. Even some of the illustrations that you show, although you see the Throckmorton house had been rebuilt, but the one that primarily you're looking at, that one in Red Bank that matches the scale particularly, that was the style on the Italian, to have the flat roof. I know it's not practical because you probably have to do a rubber membrane, but if you are doing cedar, it's probably, you know, equally expensive or lack of expensive. Maybe you guys can speak to that as to the pros and cons, because that flat pitch roof would make it, I think, it's more consistent with the Italian style.
I think you're right. And again, these are just a
No.
smattering of details that would, you know, take it to the next level of historicism, which you're already doing. I guess in our case, it'd probably be a flat seam, copper, right?
For the porch roof service?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I'm fine,
And the other thing that I don't want to lose sight of the fact, and again, everything looks, you know, it's certainly a step up, it looks great, but just be conscious of the fact, and to the degree that even the side is depicted, but not thoroughly, is that, you know, you have a prominent position because you could see from the Normandy, both, you know, across the way from the park and obviously even on the side. So the sides you get, you know, our jurisdiction is what's visible from the street. So, you know, it's almost like living on a corner, even though you're not really on a corner, but there's gonna be plenty of sections that are gonna be visible. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, there are some interesting ins and outs and details on the side, which is, this is the side of it. You don't.
No, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the illustration.
But any feedback on that view on the side?
Which one are you talking about? The one? No, I think it looks actually
The
very
left
good.
I think as Tony said, I think effort and care was put on that to be, you know, carefully composed and, you know, consistent with, you know, kind of the historic fenestration and rhythm within those.
Would see how the deck in the back has a roof line that matches the front
Yes.
in style? If it went flat on the front, would it also need to be flat in the back?
I don't.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, they wouldn't have built a porch like that.
Yeah.
I think back in the day, but I mean, a lot of these homes were, in the district were continually added on to over, you know, that period of the existence. So, times change, materials change and all that. And honestly, our jurisdiction's on the front of the building and what you can really see from the street too, you know, so, and I guess presumably you could see a little bit of that, but
You'll be able to see the
anyway.
side.
Both sides, yeah, but certainly if you think about it, Jake, because that's what I was saying before, is the park is on the riverside on the north side, so you're gonna be able to see the whole side.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and there was a time that we probably would have been critical about the dental molding too, because you know, I know we had a couple of applications where we weren't that receptive to that, but I happen to, we kind of all looked at it a little bit, up in New England, there's plenty of houses even with this style that do incorporate dental molding, so that is historically accurate too, introducing that, so.
A quick couple of things.
Yeah.
So are you going to, you know, a lot of people now are doing, all their mullions in a dark color. Are you gonna keep them white? Or inside the windows?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, what? Oh, sorry, no,
And
no.
the other thing was, on a lot of a lot of these other examples, there's a double door. Did you consider doing a double door with just this light up top?
I would love, I really, I don't know. Can we fit a double door? I would love,
I just think that it makes it look so old fashioned.
But this might have to be maybe a more narrow double door.
Yeah, that's what I did it. on
Like,
my
which
house.
was,
I
which
did
is what they had.
I love, yeah.
That's kind of where, so it'd be like glass up on
Right.
that, and some on the
Like,
side,
how-
and then it
yeah.
kind of is almost like a poly door like
Yeah.
that.
But
Well,
no
that's-
lights on the sides, no
Okay.
glasses.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
just
just
the top.
I don't need it on the side.
Oh, but it's glass in both.
Yeah,
both leaves of
you,
the door.
it's like, my house originally had the double door, but it had been covered up, and then when we tore it apart, we found like the original woodwork, and it had been, they just turned it into like a storm door. But yeah, that's probably more historic.
I would like to also do the like glass on the top, like your house has with the number written. in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love it. Double door.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
And wood shutters, I assume?
Yes.
Yes, with the hardware.
Yes.
Nice.
Any particular configuration, movable louver, solid, you know, not that it matters that much, but just out of curiosity, we haven't gotten that far.
Probably the louvers, I guess, but not necessarily movable. I don't know.
Well, I'm just, yeah, louver, right?
Mine are movable because when the wind blows, they.
You know what? I would like to.
Blades fly off.
You're not gonna have a problem.
That's
They're
how
not
old they are.
movable.
I have to,
Yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, louver.
you know, I've been flying off.
So again, just, I'll just go over it again, the things that, you know, so you're talking about probably 90% cedar on the roof material. If you decide to use some other type of material like a shingle, you know, we'll just need some kind of specification on that. Obviously, the hardy board is something that we've approved, the simulated wood, but as Jay mentioned, the smooth, I'm not certain whether heritage white is just the color or the style.
okay. It's just a roll white.
Yeah, the windows, you've got, well, they're 8/8, and that's what you're looking to do? At least on the facade.
You know what that means?
No.
It's,
But. that's-
yeah, it's pretty much, yeah, I would say so, but.
Again, it's not, I mean, I don't know whether
Eight
there's.
passes over.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
the mullions, the grills, yeah.
And it would be either simulated light or not just kind of a snap-in grill. I know that you're not gonna be doing something like that just based on the kind of construction.
Definitely, exterior
Yeah,
grills.
and I'm not saying one way or the other that you have to do 8/8 or you have to stick with this, but just that that's the kind of detail we'll need to see when you come in for the formal application. And also, I assume you'd be maybe doing either wood or AZEK type, you know, casings of the window. Would you guys have any input on that?
I would imagine probably AZAC or something like.
Yeah, maybe with a copper drip cap on the top.
Yeah, especially where you're at, right on the river, you know, you wanna, you know, probably stay away from wood as much as possible. The front porch material, obviously, maybe you mentioned mahogany, maybe revisit, I mean, to the degree that Joe had mentioned, you know, the issue of the brick and whether you want to do some kind of pier construction or something like that with a lattice or whatever. Again, it doesn't seem like anything that's gonna be a deal breaker, but it's just something to consider. Obviously, what Jay mentioned about the chimney and how the specific configuration looks and the rake returns, as Jay mentioned. And that's really any things that I could think of that you would need detail on. Any other things that you
I
guys
have-
would want to say?
Yeah, I had one question on I assume I don't know what you call this, is this gonna be a stairwell?
That's a stair tower,
It's, and is it gonna be one of those things that, you know how some houses, when you look in, you can see the big chandelier hanging down, and so is it gonna be open from the bottom to the top?
No, it's going to have landing, so there won't be well, from the attic down to the next landing, there'll be a little bit of extra,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only part to me that feels a little more modern, touch, because I don't know,
I saw this house in,
did you see
Red
one that had
Bank.
something like that?
Yeah, I saw a house in Red Bank, it's kind of like on the river, it's in there, on Prospect, at the kind of at the end,
Yeah.
and it had something similar to that. So I just liked it, I thought I gave it some depth on the side,
yeah, and actually to correct myself, it does not go up, it stops at the ceiling of the second floor, so there's no opportunity for the big chandelier.
yeah, it's just basically our stair, like it's the
Yeah.
staircase, so I kind of. It's not that big of a house, so the staircase is kind of like hidden to the side, and so I just wanted to create some visual interest inside for when you walk up the stairs, there'll be like a little bit of a landing, like. Window seat, as you're walking up this.
Our neighbors on Lexington at 134 Lexington, very old house, and you can see on the side exactly what you're describing. The stairs were there and the original's color glass.
Oh, cool.
You can see it going up and down.
You lose a driveway then, or how do you, What's
So we're hoping to have the driveway on the other side of
Oh.
the house to mirror, like our neighbor's driveway is on their other side of the house. We're just hoping that, because if we make it smaller and it's just her driveway, we're hoping it's more obvious that it's a driveway for the Amazon truck drivers that are like
Right.
driving like it's a road down and all the trucks
Yeah,
and
'cause
people that are getting confused.
Garage is way in the back. It's almost like.
Yeah, she's all the, yeah, and it's her house, you know, our neighbor's house is in the back, so that's how she gets to her driveway. But people also don't understand that that's two driveways versus like a street sometimes. So that's why we're just hoping, and we wanted a fence in the property with the picket fence, so we thought it would make.
So
more
where
sense.
would your garage be then? All the way
We're
to the
not gonna
back? You're not
touch,
gonna-
yeah, we're not gonna touch the system.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great. I mean, it's a great design. It's, certainly an improvement on what's there. Not that the house is quaint.
Yeah.
And cute, nice, very nice as it is right now. You probably were watching or looking at the construction that was going on up on the Normandy. Yeah, because they, that was a bit of a fight because that was a historic structure that was deemed to be, not stable, et cetera, but they did a great job with reconfiguring it, and I think it's a real addition to the neighborhood. So, and that's what this is. Yeah, for sure.
Great. So we'll come back we'll put in our formal application hopefully for the next, for August's meeting and come back with everything that we talked about.
Yep.
Hopefully we've captured all the things.
I mean, honestly, if there's a, you can always email us, Sheila through the commission if you had any questions or, or if you have any questions now, that's fine as well.
Yeah, no, I think we're good. Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hopefully you can keep your fence. I think I remember you guys came in on the fence one time.
We did come in on the fence. We are, we're gonna
Maybe I'll-
extend that fence. We're gonna,
There's so much.
use that and extend the fence.
No, congrats, guys. It's been
Thanks.
great. Yeah. See you in August.
So they're driveway, it's like half theirs, but then we share it and they bring it back to the drive through.
Yeah, the house is on the river right here, so they found, so the probably driveway supposed to be here.
Is it in the pretty building?
Halfway, it's like, it's halfway. But yeah.
But they have an easement.
Yeah, we got the half of the borough, this is the part.
Oh, so it extends into
Oh,
the
that's the-
property?
Yeah, that's part.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you're not gonna have a garage, then you just.
Yeah, I don't check it on the other side.
Maybe later on.
They do it on each end.
I know, it's not, I
You
know.
got like 9 feet on the one side, once you get to the house on the right side, we're talking about the right.
Well,
Is it really required? This is outside of our. Not connected to the driveway, because I know the whole house is 51 has a garage in the back that's not gonna be. That's some type of off-street parking.
Yeah.
Or
Or at least, far back, right, you have to fill that X amount of cars. It's too bad.
Is there a off-street parking? Yeah. I think the driveway.
It's like they've got 30 feet to the front of the house now.
What?
What they're talking about.
Yeah, but what I'm missing, is there any room to put a driveway on the other side? It's the opposite side of the garage.
I think it probably has to go far enough back.
They're talking about the driveway, putting the driveway on the right side now.
Yeah, but I mean, the garage is all in the back on the left. So that's, I mean, it probably won't be connected to the garage, obviously.
The survey's only showing like 9.5 feet.
And that's before a fence. That's what, and what the minute you put a fence in too, it kind of.
That's gonna, yeah, so they're not.
Yeah, you can see on the survey the location
Get
of
a
the
car
garage.
back there.
See, and that barn is now gone on the side too. You remember that barn that was back there? They tore it down.
Oh, they tore it down?
It was almost falling down.
I remember looking at that.
It was real, I'm surprised that, it looked like it was ready to collapse any day. So, okay, we'll revisit that in August. Now we have old business and we're gonna get an update by Centennial Hall. We've got the Historic Association and our liaison.
Yeah, I'm gonna defer the report to either Elise or Tracy.
Sure. Tracy Cole, 123 Grand Ave. And, Elise Casey, 263 Fairhaven Road. So, couple things. The first is that some of you who were on the stakeholder meeting got a notice that July and August meetings are canceled. And I just want to confirm with you that we're gonna convene in September. The timeline has shifted. You probably kind of all put that together already. So by September, there'll be some more information that we'll be able to, get together and discuss. But I can tell you today, as of today, in fact, I want to credit our new borough administrator, Chris York, who took it upon himself to really check on some deadlines, and it turned out we had a really critical potential failure in our grant, the funding for the ADA work. And he was very quick to engage with the county and try to secure that funding and earn an extension, one that we weren't technically eligible for. He was able to arrange for that. We were able to secure a 6-month extension. But the takeaway bottom line is the ADA work, which is fully funded through the CDBG grant, have to be complete by May 2025. We all know that's good news, because that represents essentially a 6-month shift in the timeline.
So that's what the extension, so.
But that's what the extension is gonna give us. And in the interim, a site visit took place to go over the punch list items. We're just waiting on a confirmation of those items, sort of a feedback report from the representative who's gonna have to work with the subs to get that work done. And, you know, ideally, and I can't confirm that this is the case, but ideally, those things happen in parallel. And by May 2025 or June, we're all talking about, you know, a kind of ribbon cutting or celebration of some kind.
What was the main issue that prompted the extension?
Well, there are expirations every month. There's requirements from the CDBG office that you report in and report if there is a delay and demonstrate why. So, internal things you could say.
Nothing substantive though about the plan or about the actual
No.
configuration.
Correct. That is correct. No, everything is fine with the plan, and now it's probably only, you'll see in the coming council meetings, the pack to get put together, the advertising will go out, and then we'll look to award the work, hopefully in September. So stay tuned. And do you have anything else on Bicentennial Hall? No. Oh, yeah. 2 things. The garden party, well, I'll let Katie discuss that, but I was in touch with the executive director of the Monmouth County Historical Commission today. We're looking into potentially seeing if McCarter Pond could be labeled a historic landmark, and if that's ever been done before, and how that might work as far as protecting and preserving it for the future.
Was that part of the original McCarter estate?
Yeah,
Yeah. It was pretty far removed though, I imagine.
Yeah, so we have to dig up some stuff on it. That may be background. But we're looking into potentially seeing what we can do with that.
Dig up stuff from the pond.
No.
Time
So it's in the middle of the pond.
Time to rewatch Chris Brenner's film.
Yes,
He had some great shots,
yeah.
the vintage
The
shots to show where that pond fit
yeah.
in with the driveway.
And whatever Katie has.
Yeah, I just had one question. Does that mean we've talked about Hall shutting down because we thought that work would take place? Does that mean Hall is open for the usual community opportunities until said?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
2 more small pieces of reporting for you. The first has to do with the grants committee endeavor. And that is in the state of New Jersey, there is a Black Heritage Trail. And each of the locations along this trail are marked with a sign of a certain type, but there's a similarity in the signs. There's a similarity in the form and the shape and the amount of text on it, and a brief description of the significance of the landmark. And we have multiple sites that would qualify. The grants committee, with the authorization of the governing body, applied for, usually we can't do that, but as volunteers, we applied for a sign, a landmark sign at Bicentennial Hall. And they're very excited. They have a favorable response to that. On a Zoom, we asked for, we didn't get awarded because they wanted to see a few tweaks in the application, all of which are very easy to accommodate. But in the course of that discussion, it came about that we also have a landmark in the form of the Black School that used to be here, which is There's no architectural remnants of it anymore, but the landmark and the place of its former location is known to us, and we plan to at least commemorate, you know, have some sort of marker there, and they encourage us to apply for a landmark sign over that location as well. So the possibility of multiple destinations along the Black Heritage Trail here at Fairhaven is kind of exciting, and I'm quite certain Ms. Brennan could probably have some other sites that might qualify, and we'll get some guidance, but but I'll keep you apprised of that. We have to update, the applications and possibly submit a second on September 6th. The second one, of course, depends on council's authorization, but they did already, authorize, go ahead to do some sort of landmark, you know, commemoration of the school in another form. So this would just be the same type of sign that creates the cohesion, and the idea is there's a footpath to take you on the trail, so there's a narrative that connects these locations.
And the Heritage Trail, marking at Bicentennial Hall would just be sort of recognizing Fifth Chapel.
Correct.
'Cause
Yeah, and the role of the congregants at that time, you know, they basically take the snippets that become that small narrative that lives on the sign. I think it's 72 characters. That's a lot of wordsmithing, you know, I don't know how they get it condensed like that, but I'm sure they're good at it because they're doing it all throughout the state. So there's a lot to say about Fitzchapel, but they'll hone it. I'm sure we'll get to look at it too, but they'll hone it, and if awarded, there's no money except they produce place and have a reception or ribbon cutting some point here to celebrate the village.
Right, and I believe, Tracy, that on their website is an expansion of each of the places on the trail that anybody can then click to read more about it. So I don't know if that's.
You're
with it.
right, yeah,
So so that marker will be for everything that's on the Black Heritage Trail.
yep,
There's also a companion piece of information, which, as on the association, we've been very hungry for an approach to beginning to digitize the historical significance.
Are there any other markings now, like in the area, Rumson?
in Red Bank.
Red
there
Bank?
are.
Oh, where
Yeah,
are- where are they?
Three locations. Do you remember the locations?
No, the
I saved the article thinking.
The house on,
The Thomas Fortune.
Right.
Yeah.
that, and one of the others.
But there were, I believe there were 3 in Red Bank,
One in
and
Middletown.
the trail is throughout New Jersey. I understand there's an underground, you know, there was an underground railroad here. What's going along the road, we might wanna identify something, but there's certainly some other landmark locations. Mm-hmm.
Really Brownland.
Cemetery.
Yeah, it's.
There used to be the cemetery.
Brown's Lane.
Yeah.
The other
Anyway,
thing to consider too, by the way, is that we've talked briefly about the movie The Green Book.
Yes.
Yeah.
So on Navasink Avenue behind Krausers, there's a
Diana
home there, and I know
yeah.
that the current owner learned about this because an elderly man knocked on her door and he said, I forget the exact specifics, but that was a safe place for traveling musicians, artists,
The vaudeville are
correct.
part of what Fairhaven's reputation was back then, and Pat, you can illuminate us more than I could.
Yes, I could.
But I know the current owner, she's sort of like, she's got her,
Yeah,
like the Pat Drummond approach of all kinds of stuff in her basement and articles. And I know she's hungry to do something, whatever that means, adding that to the list of areas in
Yeah.
Fairhaven that's significant. So.
I have a lot of stuff. But, and I just found something new the other day. I was going through my paperwork in my bedroom that's up to here, boxes. And, I found, now we have a picture of the Albertina steamboat and the Seabird, that's ours in Fairhaven. And there was one I looked at and it said steamboat with Little Silver on it. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't know anything about Little Silver. So I started looking into it and there was a whole I went over to Little Silver Borough Hall. And I gave it to them, the black and white thing, and they were so excited, they couldn't believe it. So Little Silver had their own steamboat. Who knew?
What a word came in.
What?
Wonder where it came in, I guess.
Yeah, there was a picture of, well, you'll have to go and look at the photo. Because it was all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was not a picture that I thought, you know, would be like by the river and nothing, nice peaceful river. There was all kinds of stuff going on.
Maybe like, where, when Little Silver turns into Ocean Port.
Yeah.
It's the deepest one.
Yeah, so it was probably very, very commercial, stuff going on there at the time. But anyway, so I was excited about that.
All good stuff.
This is one other item, and this would probably, Mr. Chairman, be something for you to consider or put on your agenda at some point if it's appropriate. The ferryman is anticipating looking to our master plan. And in 2026, we're obligated to have our updated master plan. The planning board has had already, I believe, 3 discussions. Sheila can 2 discussions. And the existing reexamination report of 2016. So there was a 1991 master plan, a 2005 reexam, a 2016 reexam. So it's not a lot to read, really. And there's a section of it that touches on the Historic Preservation Commission, your role specifically. And I just encourage you or suggest that look it over and discuss it at some point in the process. That'll be something that there'll be a conversation, but consider what's written there and decide amongst yourselves what it is you think is appropriate or I'll just end by thinking forward looking. When you, that's what a master plan is, it's very
Yeah.
forward looking document.
The most recent is 2016, you said?
Yeah, that's that, and it was a re-examination, so, I know for myself, a lot has happened since 1991. The world has changed, we've had a pandemic, we have a new weather system, we have, and usually when there's major variables that affect daily life, you know, and certainly even without that, you can conduct an update, which is a more robust planning exercise, a lot of public participation in, you know, creating a long-term view of Fairhaven. So, and the planning board is formulating their thoughts about re-exam versus update. The re-examination is generally reserved for like you run out of time and still didn't get enough done anyway, so we'll just punt. But I believe, you know, personally, I think we should really look to doing an update. And in anticipation of that, I would just encourage you to take a look at what's written now about the Historic Preservation Commission, the Historic District, the role that you've played in the curating and caring for this district. And I would even go a step farther to say, because of this body's role, there's a very clear differentiation, and perhaps there's other places where that could lend value. So, you know, some things to think about and we'll go from there.
Other places
Quite
in
well.
town, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speculate or get ahead of the process, but we don't even have design guidelines in our historic district, but many historic districts do. I compliment this body for being so well equipped to carefully, in a very nuanced, friendly, neighborly way, work with the applicants. But in a lot of communities, you don't necessarily have the skilled professionals on commission, and you have to replace that with guidelines or other things. And so, you know, just want to get you thinking about it so that when there is an opportunity to have a conversation, either with the planning team we bring in, or if we're asked to put some thoughts in a memo, and I don't know what form any of that'll take, but you've already had time to consider these.
So Tracy, I have a question for you, because I know, and I've talked about this when I first joined here, there is one piece of the commission that we don't really address, and that's the 6th item bullet, which is what is it, responsible for advocacy of historical things in general in the town, not just the district, not just the geographic spot. And I agree with you, I think there's a body of knowledge in this commission that just as a guideline, just as informative, because there are many historical spots in Fairhaven, and when you have buyers like yourselves that are interested in proactively, whether you're in the historic district or not, want to learn more about how to communicate with their builders and choose architects perhaps. And I think sometimes people purchase homes in Fairhaven and don't know that they have choices in architects and building that may just be just that architectural decision that could give that sense that that home is in fitting with in general the historical nature of Fairhaven. So are you saying that could be part of the role, or is that outside of that?
Saying that, actually,
You're still saying within the guidelines of the district itself?
I was specifically not speculating. I'm encouraging you guys to think about
Yeah.
your role, the benefits it has had on the district that is within your jurisdiction. And just think about that. We have a business district. The master plan speaks to the business district and possible benefits of design guidelines, which should sort of be a way,
Yes.
you know, or an architectural review committee, much like what you do here without formal design guidelines. And again, that's to your credit and your
I think that's
the
the
body of
space.
expertise here, which is not easily replicated and also isn't sustainable. So what would provide that if, you know, say all of you are not here in 10 years, how would your work go on? As to postulate one thought.
Sure, can we put it on for, as a new business to just take a look at it, and, is it possible for you to produce it for us? I mean,
The 2016 reexamination. report.
Certainly, I can even
Yeah.
forward that to you in advance.
That would be-
Through email, and you can have the
That'd be
opportunity to,
That would be great.
review it at your leisure.
I think
over
that's on the
next few
website,
weeks.
isn't it?
It is,
It's
but I
on
can
the-
send it to you
Yes.
directly
And
to your.
When
email.
the original historic preservation ordinance was formed, 1993, we did have guidelines back then, because somebody, you had to have some guidelines, and so that's what we were using. I still have a lot of those, the paperwork home. But, yeah,
It'd be
the-
good to bring that to a discussion.
Yeah, but
Probably-
it's like
I've never
so
seen
many,
it.
these people are so professional about this now.
Yeah.
They know that it's all up here.
And very, very lucky. I
Yeah.
agree with you.
But we did have basic guidelines, in the beginning. And there's, I think, 114 buildings in the historic district. So in case you ever want to know.
So one more thing that we skipped over, September 14th, is the garden party, and hot off the press, the tickets, I believe, just went on sale today. That website is live, so you'll certainly see communications about that. And I did click to look at the mission, or the goal of the garden party, and you can see from the verbiage, it's expanded just a tweak. It's not only the physical, caretaking of the physical part of this chapel, but also I forget the wording, but it was worded very well, the historical significance, the sharing the history, all that. So now that's been added to our charter for the fundraising, which is really terrific. That's a good springboard for what comes next after the ADA work and everything.
Right,
Calendars.
thank you, ladies.
Okay. Thank you.
And yes, so we have, where did we go? Was it?
That's a woman.
But I know, but didn't we have the gentleman that was sitting there?
Christopher, that was an UVA.
Yeah, I was hoping I wanted to, did he had to leave? Yeah, shoot. Okay, so we have a new borough. No, because I didn't realize he was gonna leave. I would have brought him up, and then when you mentioned, when you looked over, I realized it was.
Our new borough administrator.
Oh, wonderful.
So he had emailed, and I welcomed him to come to the meeting. Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
Thanks. Maybe.
He didn't stay for the best part. In the meantime, while we wait, why don't we, I know everybody took a look at the minutes, and I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Yes.
Having looked at them previously.
Mr. Pavlik,
Yes.
Mrs. Drummond.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Schluter,
Yes.
Mrs. Christora.
Yes.
No?
No.
Got it. Okay. All right. Maybe he'll come back
Can I
and,
give a shout out quickly? So, for the 250th anniversary, the Monmouth County is doing a town by town book. Again, they haven't done it since like 2012 or 2014, I guess. And, these three, beautiful women, they wrote it and it was great.
Thank you.
Well, I ended it, but I'm really excited to have it come out, so just wanted to give them a little shout out. They did a great job. It was history, but it kind of brought it into today and everything that's great about Fairhaven, so.
When will that be out?
Well, not for 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
I've lost track of when that
But
is.
semi-quincentennial, I can practice saying that, I know, our semi-quincentennial.
Okay.
So,
Maybe.
So.
all right, unless there's any other comments? Any other comments from the commission or anybody else I can't see?
Behind the fire.
Motion to close. Looking forward to the August meeting. Yeah. Do some business.
All right.